Did you know that research has found that around 90% of suicide victims suffered from some sort of psychiatric illness and most likely were not diagnosed or treated by a doctor? So with that being said, overall, today's media has been a really big contributor to negative stigma that surrounds the silence of mental health issues and suicide within today's society. So just with this speech, I just want to argue how media is used negatively to impact suicide and mental health and how it should be used in a more positive light to impact suicide and mental health. And I'm just going to use examples to support this and show how it will better society. So the problem I've come to notice time and time again is that this idea that social media is negatively impacting the mental health and suicide numbers of society. With that being said, I just want to talk about an article by Madeline Gold. She just touches on the dangers and implications that follow when portraying media in a negative light. So she just introduces this idea of suicide as a contagion. So basically, suicide can be something that just follows basically a domino effect. And once someone sees someone else do it, someone else is also going to do it. And it just, like, they think it's okay, so they're like, oh, well, other people have done it, so I'm going to do it. So this is kind of where media plays the role of creating, like, suicide clusters and suicide epidemics. And this is obviously is impacted by media. So the overall number of suicides increase and follow a trend called the dose response. This occurs when other people, such as celebrities and other well-known people, are displayed in media outlets for committing suicide. And it's most common for teenagers, who are most likely the ones engaging in social media and seeing these posts about celebrities. The media is just focusing on the bad aspects of this, though. They're not giving people like sources or outlets or telling people this is nothing to be ashamed of, you can get help. They're not really doing that. They're just saying how bad it is, creating this dose response. So I kind of talked about how suicide is depicted negatively in media. So now I want to talk about how mental health is portrayed negatively in media and like the impacts that has. So for mental health in media, it's more so like comparing social comparison and creating negative effects like depression, loneliness, and just overall sadness, conflict between children and parents. And this is just because like you're comparing yourself to something that's not realistic. You're seeing people's perfect lives that are filtered and look so fun, but that's not actually reality, and this causes all these problems. So I kind of talked about how it's so negative, but I do want to talk about how it's positive too. So there was a recent study that was done by Jo Robinson, and she reported that 91% of her participants felt that social media was like an outlet for them, that it like made them feel better and it was like supportive. So with that being said, there is like a solution for this whole problem, and I think it's just using media in a more positive light. So I do have an example from Twitter. So there was a person that dressed up as a mental health patient, I guess, for a Halloween costume, and this went viral. It was on the news and everything, and people like stood up to this person and created a mental health hashtag, and just were posting what it's like to actually live in the life of someone that struggles with suicide and mental health. And this just brought a whole bunch of people together and made other people feel like heard and that they are not alone. And so this brought them to different support groups, different people to talk to, and just different aspects for them. So if this was something that actually was a viable solution, I believe that it would improve the stigmas that are surrounding media, and it would really show people that there is a stigma and that it does need to end, and that by adding like little hashtags on Twitter or Instagram posts, that it can make a difference, and that it will like overall like decrease statistics. However, I do have to think about other oppositions that people might think of. So people might like fight back with, oh, well, look at the rising suicide numbers with social media. That is like viable, like those are viable statistics, but there also is a number of statistics that can support the fact that social media can be used in a positive light and that it's doing more good than harm. So in order to keep that all together, I think it's important to keep pushing for small little tasks such as, hashtags on Twitter and just keeping up with it. It has to be something that is kept up with repetitively if we want to see any difference. So, in conclusion, today's media has just been such a big contributor in the negative stigma that surrounds the silence of mental health issues and society and suicide within today's society. In order to make any progress, it's just crucial that we all do our part and intend to raise awareness by using social media in a more positive light. So, just remember that around 90% of suicide victims suffered from some sort of psychiatric illness at the time. So that just shows how important it is to create a world that is less harsh and more supportive, and that it's something that we all should strive to fix, because it's considering that it could be affecting a family member, a friend, or a neighbor, and it's in your power to be someone who can impact the statistics for the overall good of society.